And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Kirk Teachout. And Kirk, first of all, thank you, sir, for spending some time with me and being my guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Michael.
You are welcome. It's going to be a great conversation. Kirk helped his wife. She's a dentist, helped her. She bought a practice, and together they grew that thing to a seven-figure business, multiple seven figures. They've helped other people do the same, following this framework that he has. And we're going to talk about that because it's not necessarily just that framework, but it's the culture that he helps you build, and how do you get your employees to buy in, and so many other fun conversations. So let's dive in, Kirk, and tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question, right? So as you can see behind me, there's guitars, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm a music producer by trade up till about 4 years ago when my wife was like, "Hey, if I buy a practice, will you help me?" I had run businesses before and built businesses myself in the music industry, learning
okay,
marketing, learning logo design, all sorts of stuff. So she was like, "Will you help me?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. I want to support you. Obviously, as a dentist, you're going to make a little bit more than me.
yeah,
So we'll see what we can do." And so I helped, and then 6 months later, COVID hit.
mm,
Um, but in that tragedy and craziness and chaos was when we figured out what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it because we were shut down for 2 months.
right,
And when you're in the grind, it's hard. Like you know what you need to do,
yeah,
but you don't do it. So when we had that downtime to actually think it through and implement things, it made all the difference, which is how we are where we are today.
dude. Those two words right there is they're a podcast in and of themselves. Think and implement. And
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many business owners don't do that. And you know this to be true because they're so busy
Hmm.
doing things. They don't take the time to sit and think about, okay, what is it that I want? Clarity on that destination, and thinking about the what's in the gap, what's keeping me, and then implementing things. So let's talk about that. What did you guys discern? Let's talk about your business, how you grew that.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you realized you wanted, and what are some things you implemented?
Sure. I mean, the biggest thing was, as a female dentist, my wife, she wanted to be home with the kids. Like everybody was like, "Oh, COVID, it's such a terrible thing." She's like, "I loved it. I was at home
Yeah.
with the kids, taking them on walks every day, playing in the cove where we lived and playing in the gravel and stuff." Like she was like, "I'm in heaven right now." So, like, how can I replicate that, right?
Yeah.
But still create the income and the lifestyle that we wanted and not really conform to these societal structures of, oh, we have to work 4 days a week, we have to work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, capture every patient that comes to our business because we have this fear that, like, if we don't get that one emergency patient in on a Friday, then we're just going to fail,
Right.
right? But we looked at it pragmatically. We're like, okay, this is what we want. This is how we're going to do it. And we sat down and like, okay, we want to come back at 3.5 days a week. We asked the team, if we come back at 3.5 days a week, they'd only know us for 6 months. Would you be okay with that? And they were like, yeah, yeah, that would be great. I think it'd be cool. I was like, okay, we're not paying you more. We're just gonna cut back on hours.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, let's see if it works. And so they bought into it. And I mean, I would tell you to this day, if we asked them to work on a Thursday afternoon or a Friday, they would push back. They wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Like they just wouldn't, because that's the culture we've created. And it's so beautiful to see how uh, the different energy was from 4 days a week, even to cutting those 4 hours in the afternoon. It was a night and day difference of the culture and the energy of the office
Uh-huh.
because they had an extra afternoon to do their grocery shopping, their errands, all those things, do their appointments that they need to with their kids. Um, so that way they had more time to spend on the things they wanted to in the weekend instead of 1 or 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw a massive jump in our numbers the next month because we had more energy. We were working harder. We were having to get really efficient in the time we were there. And a few months later, or several months later, really, that next year, my wife had a baby.
Okay.
And when she was on maternity leave, and she was like, okay, we've been doing 3.5. What if I only come back on 3 days a week? So the team is still there on that half day on Thursday, but I'm only going to be there on Thursday or on Monday through Wednesday.
Okay.
And we did it, and we saw another massive increase in our productivity just because we had to learn how to be super efficient in those times that we were there. Uh, and a lot of people think, oh, yeah, you're just working longer days on those. No, I'm not. We're working 8:30 to 4:30 on Monday through Wednesday with
Yeah.
an hour lunch. So like and yet we are able to outpace well above average dentists with huge teams on a very small team on 3 days a week.
Hmm. Yeah, so good. Everybody's listening to this going, yeah, it won't work for my business. My business is different. And I'm here to tell you it will work, right?
Yeah.
I've seen other people do it. We do it in our company. I'm down to 4 days a week. And I joined Strategic Coach,
Yep.
and he teaches the same kind of philosophy because you're right. If you're there 3.5 days a week, you are super laser focused, but you can be that way because you've got 3.5 days to recuperate, regenerate, have
Yeah.
fun, get everything done. Now you're ready to go. That's culture. And I think a lot of business owners don't think about that way, and they don't see the connection from culture to bottom line. Can
Right.
unpack that a bit of your team and why they just love that so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is because of the vision that we sold them,
Okay.
right? So when we came in and my grandparents can tell you, my mom can tell you, my wife can tell you, like I love selling a vision. Like I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. I'm a big dreamer. And they've always known that about me. My wife brings me down, out of the
Yeah.
clouds
Yeah.
quite a bit. Um, but if you don't have a big enough vision, you're never going to do something like this.
Amen.
You're just not. And that big vision and implementation of that vision really determines how good of a leader you are as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you can develop your leadership skills, be able to sell that vision, and people want to follow you,
Yeah.
then you can create whatever you want. So, like this year, we're trying to do the same thing on 2 days a week when my wife's coming back from this maternity leave,
Right.
to get ultra efficient. But like you were saying, it comes still back down to culture.
It does.
If you're not able to raise your leadership skills, I like to quote the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. That first chapter is so integral, and it's the law of the lid.
Yes.
If you're a 6 out of 10 as a leader and you have a bunch of sevens or eights out of tens in leadership in your organization, then they're never going to follow you.
Right.
You have to raise your lid, your leadership lid above your team, so that way they'll follow you into the trenches and into the war to be able to fight that battle every single time. And time again, we make sure that we are, you know, taking care of them
Good.
and serving them instead of us dictating and them serving us.
I'm so glad you said that because I think that's one of the keys that business owners miss is you and your wife walked in and said, what do you think about going to 3.5 days a week, getting their buy-in, right? Not instead of saying, here's what we're doing. And oh, by the way, you get a pay cut. No, you've got it. I mean, I look at our team and I said, that's my number one customer is
Yeah.
my team. And I want my team to serve our clients the way I serve them.
Hmm.
And I think when we do that, we get better buy-in, we get all of them, and they get motivated to come to work to help us achieve whatever that big vision is because most companies don't have a big vision, Kirk. You know that.
No, they don't.
And it's really sad. That's why I love having people like you on my podcast. It's like, okay, let's go
Yeah.
get the world, right?
Yeah.
Um, all right, so let's talk about that. So you've got a vision. And I
Sure.
was reading in scripture the other day, and it's in Mark chapter 9, and Jesus is talking to this guy, and the guy says, hey, can you heal my son? And Jesus is like, all things are possible to one who believes.
Yeah.
That last word really hit me. It's like, I can have a big vision, but if I don't really believe it, I'm not going to implement it, right?
Right.
So how have you done some you've done some fun compensation things with your team, bonus
Yeah.
structures and things to help them get more buy-in. Explain some of that because I think that's another element the business owners miss.
Yeah. So, you know, before I get to that, I want to touch
Sure.
on the scripture you
For
pointed
sure.
out, right? Like Jesus was the ultimate servant, right?
Right.
So the number one book, I have bought it more than 100 copies for people. Don't reach out to me. I won't buy everybody a copy, but I have I have bought over 100 copies of this book. I really need to talk to the authors about it. But The Go-Giver,
Yes.
it's about servant leadership. Obviously, Jesus was the greatest of servant leaders,
Yeah.
but that was what changed my mindset towards business in general, which has allowed us to do what we do in creating that culture. And that's the reason why Jesus was able to create that culture, was because of his servant leadership.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not that sometimes you don't have to say, no, this is how it is. I'm not going to ask you every time,
Right.
but getting their input, their buy-in sometimes, and then also allowing them to empower them to be a better leader as well. Um, but leading into what you were saying about these bonus structures and different things, the word incentivization is very important,
Mm.
right? So as business owners, we're incentivized to work harder than anyone else because it's our baby, it's our
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is we find ways to incentivize the team, like obviously through different things, like we on February 14th on Valentine's Day, like we'll buy them like little baskets with cool stuff in it. Ever so often, holidays, like we'll get them stuff, July 4th, different stuff. But the way that we're able to really incentivize and drive results is through our bonus system and our daily goals.
Mm.
So for easy numbers, if we do a $10,000 day, that means that we've provided enough value to our patients that turns into that $10,000 day. But when they hit that $10,000 day, then we have this spinny wheel thing that I got on Amazon that has a 25, 50, 75, and $100 amount on it, all over the wheel on different like just all over. And if we hit that $10,000, then they can spin that wheel the next morning at our morning meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And if they spend $100, then every single person on the team gets that $100,
Wow.
not split, that $100. So everybody gets $100 for the day.
Wow.
And I calculated that based off of where our payroll percentage is at 20%. So, your overhead, you got to make sure that your payroll's in
Right.
check. But it's based off of that. So where our actual goal is, that's where it is. And anything above that, it is that. If we go to where it's at 15%, they can take the 25 off. So even if they spend a 25, we respend.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a certain percent, at 10%, then they can automatically get 100 no matter what. Like they don't have to spend, it's just $100 in their pocket. And what that does is it empowers them to search for things without me having to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking to see who needs x-rays. They're looking to see who has treatment that's pending. They're looking to see all these things in these patients. And it's not to grab money, but it is to make sure that we're providing the best care for the patient. So
Yes.
we're proactively trying to help the patient instead of reactively trying to help the patients when they come in because they have a tooth problem or something.
Absolutely.
So, in trying to incentivize your team with a good structured bonus system is
Mm.
an amazing way to give them ownership,
Yes.
which leads into our monthly bonus. So, if we collect for easy numbers $100,000 that month,
Mm-hmm.
anything above that, once again, that's where payroll's at 20%.
Okay.
Anything above that, they get 10% of whatever profit we do above that.
Wow.
So they have ownership in
Yes.
the practice, right?
Yeah.
So they get ownership in that profit and it drives them to be consistent with the daily bonus, which leads to the collections, which leads to ultimate empowerment and the sense of ownership that we have as business owners to make us want to work harder.
That's right. No, that's so good because it's almost profit sharing in a
Yeah,
sense. And it's just it is profit sharing. It's just done a different
right,
way.
right.
And it helps them understand that they are entrepreneurs, they're intrapreneurs, right? They're within the
Yep,
organization, they have opportunities. They're here to serve I take my car to an auto repair shop, been doing it for 20 years. And they do a similar thing. I mean, every time I take it in for an oil change, dude, I get this whole report. They go, Michael, here are the 17 things that your car should be having. Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? Because we want you to
yeah,
be safe and reliable and blah, blah. Are you taking any trips? We need you. Wow, never had anybody do that. They're looking out for my best. They're trying to drive profit,
right,
but they're looking out for my best interest. And
right.
it's the same concept that your people, you've trained them not to just, okay, we need a floss, we need a cavity, we need that. No, 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 no. We're a different place. And I can only imagine that your patients come in, have a totally different experience than any other dental place, probably tell one or two of their friends, and your business grows through referrals as well as marketing. Is that fair?
Yeah, I haven't spent a dime on advertising in the last 4 years.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all because we create that culture not only in our team, but through our patients.
Yes.
So our patient culture, our client culture is just as important as our team culture, and it's infectious, right? So coming from the music industry, right? You have to create another great book, Raving Fans.
Yes.
And when you create raving fans, you're going to attract more of those same people.
Mhm.
You know, there it doesn't matter if you have 20 dentists on the same street within a block of each other. People are going to come to you because of you and your team.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with any business, right? They needed to create a, or you need to create a raving fan and a raving fan base of your company. And it's just as much the patient culture. I'd harp on firing patients pretty hard
Yes.
that do not fit that culture. Just as I would fire a team member,
Yeah.
I fire patients, and I have difficult conversations. I had 3 2 days ago in the
Mhm.
same day. I was like, look, I want to make sure everything's okay. I'm empathetic when I approach them. Um, but at the same time, we have a standard of care that we provide for you. I expect you to treat us with respect and dignity as well and
Yeah.
courtesy because we want to be able to continue this relationship.
Right.
Can you do that for me?
Mhm.
And you know what? One left, not the right patient.
It's okay.
One apologized, and the other one is going to apologize too. Like so
That's
it
great.
it weeds out the people you don't want, which alleviates headaches and stress, and it really trains and educates your clients to be the ideal person.
And it protects your team.
Yes.
They know you have their back, and this is
Yeah.
not just lip service.
Yep.
Uh,
Which increases your leadership and them following you.
100%. And them telling everybody else, "You won't believe what my boss did," right? And they're
Yeah.
like, "What?" It helps you get better employees who wanna be
Yep.
part of that. And so you might be opening another practice area, in another neighborhood because you've got people
Right.
saying, "I wanna work for you. Can I work for you?"
Yep.
So many things, and I love that. I love the line. No advertising in 4 years. Did y'all hear that? Go back, rewind this thing about 3 or 4 minutes and listen to that again because
Yeah.
everybody I talk with, Kirk, is like, "Oh, I need more leads. I gotta go spend Facebook or LinkedIn," or it's like, time out, time out. Let's
No.
build this first. Build the foundation, build the culture, have the vision, because that culture wouldn't have been built had it not been your vision.
Right.
How do you help people start to get that vision? Because the law of the lid, John wrote that for a reason.
Yeah.
Because most people have a really small lid. How do you help business owners kind of start lifting that lid a little bit? What's some tips you can give some people who are like stuck?
Yeah, man. I mean, the first thing, without sounding too cliche, is to get a coach.
Yeah,
I
amen.
mean, it is. I've had coaches for years. I mean, I have 3 right now. I
Mhm.
mean, for different things.
Yeah,
And I'm coaching as well, and my coaches have coaches, and like John Maxwell has a coach.
yeah,
Everybody who is on a certain level has somebody to push their limiting beliefs
yeah,
of what is possible,
yeah.
right? You don't know what you don't know, and especially in dentistry, it's very isolating.
Mhm.
And especially when you're the top dog, there's nobody around you. It's very competitive, what
Yeah,
people think anyway. You don't want to tell people your numbers or like, oh man, they're going to take my patients if they know my secret sauce. I'm like, no,
no, they're not.
they're not. Let's collaborate.
Yeah,
But you know, obviously hiring a coach, to be able to see things from a 30,000-foot view, if they're in a cornfield and you can just say very clearly that you can see if you take 5 paces to your left, your world is going to open up.
yeah,
You're no longer in the weeds.
yeah,
Like you can get there. Things like that, that you just don't know what you don't know.
right,
And you can't see what you can't see. And so you have somebody objectively and unemotionally tied to what you're doing to give you the information you really need and to
right,
open up those barriers. So number one, a coach. Number two, man, develop those leadership skills.
yeah,
Read books like The Go Giver, like Extreme Ownership, The Compound Effect, The Pumpkin Plan. There's so many,
yeah, that's
so many to increase your lid. to develop as a leader, find little nuggets and practice them with people. Get rid of fear. Fear is what really holds us back. That's the reason why most people have a low lid, is because they're afraid
Right.
of what am I going to do if I fail?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you a quote that one of my first mentors in passing said to me. He had built this massive financial company and was doing really well, and he was like, "Kirk, you're going to fail." Uh, okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. Hello, I'm
Yeah.
Kirk. um, yeah, that was his first words to me.
Wow.
Kirk, you're gonna fail. And then he leaned in and said, fail faster.
Wow.
Fail faster than anyone else, and you're gonna succeed faster than anyone else.
Mm-hmm. So good.
And it's, entrepreneurship and business ownership in general, like even if you're a solopreneur, you're going to have failure. Anybody in life is going to have failure. And it's through those failures that we learn. And in those valleys that we learn, and those decisions we make in those valleys is what determines how high of a peak we come up next.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. I've been listening to and reading Tony Robbins, and
Yeah.
he's really helped me on this because he's like, there is no such thing as failure. There are only results.
Yeah.
You do something, you fail. No, I got a result. Well, that didn't work out. Okay, let's try. And it really, that and his other phrase is no event has any meaning at all except the meaning I give to it.
Yep.
And those two together have really helped me just go, that's okay. Let's go. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's go. All right. But I think you're right. Business owners are scared for lots of reasons, and they don't need to be. They need somebody like you, another coach somewhere, just to say, come on, I've been there. Let's go. Pick it up. It's okay. Because our
Yeah.
teams need that. Our community needs that. Our clients need that. And when you can pick your head up and look up and have hope and walk by faith, everything gets better. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy,
Yeah.
but we're all looking for leadership.
Yeah.
And
And to be honest, the only thing we can't do is nothing.
say that again. Say that again.
The only thing we can't do is nothing.
I like it. Dude, that should be like on one of those success posters. The only thing we can't do is not, you're right, because we're always doing something, aren't we?
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So how do you work with business owners and dentists and things? What kind of a do you do coaching group program? What is it?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I do one-on-one coaching. I love it. I love the intimacy of it and the personalization of it because nobody is the same.
Yeah,
Nothing is cookie cutter, and obviously, I see similar things happen
yeah,
over and over again. But even before I started coaching dentists, I mean, I was helping business owners in general because I just love business.
yes.
Like I love numbers. I love getting people out of their comfort zones and pushing their limiting beliefs. So really, I just enjoy business strategy
Mm-hmm.
because once again, like Tony Robbins, and that's the reason why he's one of the most successful coaches ever, is because he just helps you through those limiting beliefs by just asking some simple questions. Because at the end of the day, like most people know what they should be doing,
Right.
they're just not doing it, and they have no accountability to keep them moving forward. Which is why I have coaches. It's like
Yeah.
I'm a coach, but I still have fears and I still have limiting beliefs
Right.
of what's possible. And so they push me like, look, I had a goal for this year, and my coach was like, "Yeah, let's 5x that this year." I was like,
Mhm.
no, that's uncomfortable." And I told him, I was like, "Look, I understand why you're saying that. I can do that, but I know my comfort level."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Forget your comfort levels."
That's right.
I was like, "Ah,
Yeah. But that's the sticking point many times is this because it's your comfort level is that belief part that Jesus was talking about. Do you believe that you can actually get there? Okay, I got to get past this. It's like, all right, guess what? I'm already there. Now
yeah,
I have to just do the work to get there. In my mind, I'm there. Once your mind is there and you're set and you believe it, the rest takes care of. I mean, there's work, but it takes care of itself because the going back to your cornfield thing, your coach just moved you five
yeah,
paces to the left.
yeah." And it's really opened up.
Yeah,
Once you believe it and start down that path and have very clear action steps,
yeah,
then it makes sense.
totally. It totally is. You would never get there without a coach.
Yeah.
I preach that to my team, to my audience all the time. You need a coach. I've got multiple coaches in my business who speak into my business because they can see my business much more clearly than I can see my business, right?
Yeah.
I can see your business super clear. That's why we need coaches.
Yeah.
How does, man, this has been amazing. We could go on for hours, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
um, how does somebody get, if they're sitting here going, man, this is resonating. I like this. I want to learn more about you and think, where would they get a hold of you? What's the next step for somebody?
Sure. So Instagram, I am all over Instagram.
Okay.
Fingers are burning every day just talking to people for free. I mean, it's just just tips and tricks. So at Kirk Teachout, I'm sure you'll have them in the show notes.
Yeah.
But if it is a dentist, then I do have a document that talks about the 7 steps of how we created 7 figures
Okay.
on just 3 days a week at the7figuredentist.com,
Okay.
spelling out seven. And if not, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the things. Just search me. I'm there.
Okay. You can find him, Kirk Teachout, just like it sounds,
Yes.
and he will be able to teach you out of your limiting beliefs and help you grow
Yes.
your business. How about that?
Sounds
Man, this
great.
has been lots of fun. I love your passion and how you've just really built an extreme culture of
Mm,
care, of servanthood, and it plays out in how you're serving your clients, obviously because the business continues to grow, and the
right.
fact that your wife wants to be a stay-at-home mom and a dentist, and it's possible. It's not a either or, it is a both and. When you have the
Right.
vision and you build the team, you have the culture, it all works out. Kirk is going to be able to help you figure things out in your business. Reach out to him. Go find him on social media. I'll have some links in the show notes. And we all need a coach, and I think Kirk would be a phenomenal one for you. Kirk, man, thank you. Thank you for being my guest. Thanks for just doing what you do and being who you are to make a difference in this world. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Michael.